So there was a new update that released for the GTA trilogy just a few days ago, and with it brought, well, honestly, I'm not too sure. The whole thing has me and the community at large very confused. It all started earlier this week when Rockstar rather randomly released a tweet via their support service page stating that the title update 1.04.5 had been applied to all platforms. When we follow the link over to the patch notes to try and get a better idea of what's going on, you're met with this. Yep, that's right. Literally all it says is stability improvements across all 3 titles on all platforms. That's it, just one line. No specifics, no breakdown, no nothing. For anyone that might not understand why a lot of us are very confused about this announcement, let me just show you the patch notes from the last update. As you can see here, they're absolutely massive. It went on for pages and pages. And these are only the notes for the changes made to San Andreas, let alone the other 2 games as well. So then when you come back and compare it to the latest offering, well, you can start to understand why a lot of us were thoroughly confused when this is what we were presented after 8 long months of waiting for a much needed update. So the question then became, well, what exactly did they change? I mean, they must have done something, right? So I decided I was going to go full research mode and try and figure it all out, which is why it took me a few days to put this together. I really wanted to get to the bottom of it. Fortunately, pretty much right off the bat, I got a big helping hand from Infinity Besk, a friend of mine and an overall GTA trilogy legend. Very shortly after the patch dropped, he went over a bunch of his old notes and tried to pin down a few changes as well, and unfortunately the news wasn't exactly good. As you can see from the very first tweet, none of the existing issues have been fixed. Misplaced objects, collision problems, poor upscaling, and most if not all of the bugs that continued to plague the game after the last update are still there and remain broken. To get a bit of an idea of the bugs we're talking about, Infinity was also kind enough to provide me with the raw video clips that he used for his thread on Twitter. And I mean, come on, just check this out. And if that wasn't enough for you, here's the cherry that crowns this absolute troll of an update. If we watch this clip here, you'll see that the new patch has actually managed to introduce entirely new bugs to the game as well. Now when you place certain vehicles inside a San Andreas garage, and then prompt it to open and close a few times, you can see that it will change some of the attributes of the car. Pre-existing bugs are one thing, but to introduce new bugs is a whole other animal. So after looking into it this far, not only was the current state of the 3 games far from improved, but I still couldn't find literally anything that had changed. Surely there had to be something though, right? I mean, we definitely received an update. And as you can see here, while they weren't huge, Vice City and San Andreas hover at around 2 gigs, so it really did have me curious. Pretty much the only positive change that I could find at all was thanks to long-term GTA Forums member Harvey, who was able to determine that they've added Steam configuration, which furthers predictions that we're going to be getting a Steam release on PC at some point in the future, but it does make you wonder just how many refund requests they're going to get if the game releases on there in its current state. Sadly though, the positive changes, if you can even call them that, stop right there. Harvey then went on to say, after comparing the files from both before and after the patch, that they had made some changes to materials and added streaming data to some of them, but not much else. And the last line right at the end where it sums up and hurts the most, no removed or updated content. Which pretty much says it all when it comes to what the community was wanting for the next trilogy patch. Another thing worth mentioning is that I've read in a few places now that the Definitive Edition has a new codebase path, which suggests it may no longer be associated with Grove Street Games. While I wasn't able to confirm the last part 100%, that would certainly be a nice little silver lining if it proves to be true. I mean, if you want to put a positive spin on it, you can always take a bit of advice from old mate Tez, who says if you want to have some hopium, the patch version being 1.04.5 might suggest that patch 1.05 is on the way. And I mean, who knows, he might just be right about that. I feel like the trilogy kind of has to get some proper patches if it's going to be released on Steam. As I mentioned before, Steam's refund policy is pretty user-friendly, and they'll be inundated with refund requests if they don't at least fine-tune the games a little bit, especially San Andreas, which is still by far the worst of the bunch. If you'd like to contribute to my ongoing research of this patch and help me figure out what the hell Rockstar was thinking on this one, please hit me up with any changes that you've discovered down in the comments section. And if you want to stay up to date with all things related to the trilogy, make sure you give Infinity a follow over on Twitter. While I will always be making these videos and doing in-depth summaries of every patch, it obviously takes me a day or two to collect and present a comprehensive overview. Whereas my mate Infinity, due to the nature of Twitter, is able to release his findings immediately after discovering them. So yeah, make sure you go and check him out. Of course, if you found the video useful, hitting the like button would be greatly appreciated. And if you're new around here, then do think about subscribing as well. I cover all things Rockstar Games and will be doing in-depth reviews for any upcoming trilogy patches. If we're lucky enough to get another one, that is. Until we meet again, you bunch of legends. I'm Red Nitrate, and I'll catch you on the next one.